On to the second part where we're going to be setting up our dependencies and editing our XML files. Before we get to that, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. So for this next part, I will be using my IDE. Now, I have the IntelliJ IDE. IntelliJ is a little bit special because in order to do the whole SQL, connect to any type of SQL database, you have to get their Ultimate Edition, which is not the same as their free edition. So in order to make this work, if you really want to follow along with me, you're going to have to get that Ultimate version. Now, there are a few different ways you can do that. You can get the free trial. You can go ahead and pay for it, right? A single license costs $150, or you can just choose to pay about $15 a month for 10 months to get to that $150. It's up to you. Or if you have a educational email address, or you know somebody with one, you got a kid who's in high school or college, you got a spouse who's a teacher and they're not using it, you can go ahead and use their educational email to get access to the Ultimate version for free. So there are options available to you. If none of those options are available, or you don't want to do those, then you are free to use any other IDE you want. Particularly if you already have a favorite. Some people love Eclipse, some people love NetBeans, right? You can use any other IDE you want. You can even use the heavyweight champion of the world, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So I opened up my version of Visual Studio. I went to extensions, typed in Java. I have the Java extension pack. As you can see, you get all of these extensions, Java language support, you get the Maven thing, which you're going to need, and any other debuggers and IntelliCode and all that. So that you can pretty much use this one even like your traditional Java IDE. So if you want to use Visual Studio Code, you can use that. That is why I generated my project with Maven, because Maven is the one thing that is going to be consistent throughout the IDEs. And I didn't want a potential conflict popping up where, because I'm using an IDE or I'm using a certain version of an IDE, paid versus free, Eclipse versus NetBeans, I didn't want any IDE specific features to get in the way of generating a lot of these files, because a lot of times they can be a great help because they will download all the dependencies for you. They'll ask you some questions, you'll answer the questions, it'll download everything for you. You don't even have to think about creating the project, but that's not always feasible depending on, maybe you're working for a different company, they're using a different IDE. Maybe you hate this IDE, you prefer this one. Whatever it is, the point is we're going to make this project essentially manually by hand so that we can minimize any potential conflicts. So theoretically, I have not tried this with the other IDEs, but theoretically everything should work if we do the same things, okay? Now, if you're going to use a different IDE, you're going to have to research some things for your software to add extensions or do whatever, but that's up to you. Anyway, so I went to my folder. This is the Java SQL application. I'll click OK, and it's going to open everything up for me. Now, as you can see, Maven created all the things it thinks you're going to need, right? From that sample template that we created. Here are the libraries. We're pointing to our Java JDK, right? Because we're going to need that. And you have your SQL application here. These are IDE specific things. Then you have, source main is where all your files are going to be. Let me scroll down, Java. This is your package, and then your app, which you've already looked at. We are going to update this pom.xml file. This pom.xml file is going to be available for all of your IDEs. We need to update the pom.xml file, so we need to change this code. Now, when you open up your pom.xml file, this is where you have this thing called dependencies. This is where you're going to put whatever dependency that you're going to want to add. So we need to add a dependency for the JDBC driver so that we can utilize it, so that we can make our connections. Problem is, as I stated before, all of this stuff is out of date. Okay, so you can't just do a copy paste. When you're using Maven and you want a dependency, you're going to have to go to MVN repository, because that's where the dependencies are, and you can search for whatever you need. So I'm going to type in JDBC because I'm looking for something JDBC, and it's going to search. And as you can see, we got JDBC's Maven dependencies for Spring, SQLite, Tomcat, Hive, Postgres SQL, whatever, right? So in this case, I'm looking for the Microsoft because I'm looking for a SQL server. That's what I want to make. So that's what I'm going to click on. I'm going to click on that. As you can see, we are on version 9.2, not version 8.2. Our JRE is not 8, it is 15, right? Remember, we downloaded the 15 JDK. This is what we're going to need. We don't need these. We need this one. So this is the dependency that you're going to want to copy, and then you're going to want to go back to your pom.xml file, and we're just going to paste that there, and everything's good. Now, for my JDE, for IntelliJ, this thing pops up whenever I make any changes. And what this is this basically this reload thing right here. So I'm going to click reload, and as you can see, after I did my reload, my dependencies changed. Before, I only had the JUnit dependency because that was the only dependency I had in my pom.xml file. Now I have this thing. So let's erase this, and let's see what happens. It went away. We're going to put it back, reload. It came back. That works out great. So theoretically, once you put your dependency into your pom.xml file, you're going to have to refresh your Maven structure. So reload your Maven project. You're going to have to look that up for whatever IDE you're using. But once you do that, it should download all your dependencies for you. Now, it's getting a little long, but what happens if this doesn't work? There is another way for you to point to this JDBC dependency, okay? I'm going to show you how. Now, you don't have to do this because Maven already did it for you, but let's say you start coding and something's not working for whatever reason. Let's do a backup. So for me, I already know when I have to add a dependency, I go to File, I go to Project Structure. For your version, for your IDE, you're going to have to look that up, okay? How to add a dependency. Like I said, theoretically, you won't need it, but if this doesn't work for you and you need to add your dependency manually, you can do that. You're going to have to look up how to add a dependency. So right here, I'm adding my dependency. I go plus, I'm going to add a jar file, and then I have to look for it, okay? Gotta look for my dependency, but before I can do that, I need to download it. Now, if you're on Microsoft's GitHub, as you can see, when I click on this link, right, it says download the driver, the JDBC driver. Okay, I click on it, and it's saying Microsoft JDBC driver 7.4. That doesn't seem right. Why doesn't it seem right? Because we know we need JDBC, we need version 9.2. So in this case, because we're keeping everything up to date and you can't rely on these links, we're going to have to search for that JDBC driver. So we're going to type JDBC SQL server driver, what was it, 9.2, whatever, I don't remember. So let's go. Boom, got it. Takes us to this page. Click on this link. We're going to download it. You download it, we got to put it somewhere. So Microsoft recommends that when you download your new 9.2 driver, that you put it into program files, right? And did you call your directory Microsoft JDBC, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I did, just to kind of keep everything consistent as possible. And I took my JDBC 9.2 driver and I put it here. So we downloaded the right driver for the right SDK and the right version. Everything's up to date. So I'm going to go back into my IDE. I'm going to add my dependency, and where the hell did I put it? Program files, I put it in 86. So I'm going to go to 86. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go JDBC, SQL, ENU, and then I'm looking for MySQL, JDBC, 9.2, JRE 15, right? Just like what we had in the that pom.sql file that they wanted us to update. See, they got this updated, but they don't have any of their links updated. So we're going to click OK. It says it'll be imported from Maven. We're going to click apply, and then we're going to click OK. And then, before I forget, because I almost forgot, we added our dependency, which is what we needed to do. The other thing we needed to add here are the properties. Almost forgot about this. So this is going to tell your compiler which version of Java do you want to build against. So right here, it says version 1.8. Now you can just use version 1.8 if you want to, since it's an older version and everything will work. I tried it with that one, or you can upgrade your version to version 15 if that's what you want to do. About Java versions, previous Java versions up until Java 8 went like this. 5 was 1.5, 6 was 1.6, 1.7, 1.8. After that, the version number is now not 1 point anything. It's literally just that version. So our version number would be 15, since that's the one that we're using. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm going to copy this whole thing. It's called properties. I'm going to go back to my IDE. I'm going to put it right below dependencies. Control V. And then I'm going to change this to 15. And the compiler target 15. So that's all you got to do. Go back to Maven. Make sure you hit that refresh button. And that will be it.